You're sitting at the dinner table and can sit with one person from the past, present, or future. Who and why?
Whoa.
What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Q&A Friday, where me and maybe a guest answer your questions. If you have a question you want answered on this podcast, email roughneckspodcast@gmail.com. Let's get into it.
One last thing before we get into today's episode. A lot of people ask how they can support the podcast. Well, I have a couple easy ways. The first way is just listen and subscribe. And another thing you can do is go follow the Roughnecks Podcast on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube as well. If you get something out of today's show, then do me a favor. Share it with a friend. If you really want to go above and beyond to support the podcast, then head over to roughneckspodcast.com and get you some of that merch. I appreciate all of the support, but let's get into today's episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 70. We're in the green room again for this recording. Still have yet to paint it, but that's beside the point. But if you're a loyal fan, you know every 10 episodes is Q&A Friday. It's episode 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever. You know, we have Q&A Friday, and you might be like, what the hell is Q&A Friday? Q&A Friday is where me and possibly a guest, today I have a guest, will sit here and answer your questions from the fans, whatever question it is. And you might be like, well, how do I get my question answered? All you got to do is send an email over to roughneckspodcast@gmail.com and listen every 10 episodes, and you might get to hear your question answered. But today, I want to introduce my guest. It is the first guest for Q&A Friday, considering this is only Q&A Friday number 2. But Q&A Friday number 2 guest is Mr. Dante Fair, a.k.a. D Fair. What's going on, Dante?
What's up, Cole? What's up, everyone? Happy to be here. I'm excited.
I've been needing to get you on because, you know, before we dive into this episode too far, we and you go back a heck of a long way from, you know, playing against each other in biddy ball and football to becoming teammates in middle school and football and then high school. And then we ended up becoming competitors again and playing against each other in college a little bit. But I mean, I remember back in the day, freaking you, one of my, I shouldn't say favorite, but I remember sophomore year is when we kind of started getting closer, and you used to always give me your lunch at lunch. Sorry, Christy, you shouldn't be hearing this, but you used to give me your lunch because your mom would check to see if you ate lunch because you were cutting weight for wrestling, which is probably not the healthiest way to cut weight, but hey, it happens. But yeah, I remember that back in high school. That's one of my funniest memories of us.
Yeah, she would I didn't even know you could check it to see if your kid got lunch or not. But she came up to me one day and was like, "Why aren't you getting lunch?" And I was like, "Oh no, I better start just buying it and giving it to someone then," because she was checking every single day to see if I was eating.
Yeah, and I was bulking at the time, so it worked out well. I got 2 lunches a day. Of course, I mean, you never got much in high school. You got a chicken sandwich, and that was about it.
Oh yeah, unless you went to the little extras bar, you got like muffins and stuff that they had.
Yeah, but that always cost $2 extra, and you're like, man. My mom would be like, "How are you out of money already?" Well, I bought 6 lunches in one day and 3 extras, and she's like, "Yeah, you got to quit doing that."
Yeah. Well, Mom, I'm hungry. What do you want me to do?
But you know, you were actually one of the first contributors to the podcast. Teddy was probably he's technically the first. He did the first ever episode with me and everything, and he was the co-host for a while. But you actually made all of the music for the Roughnecks podcast. You were responsible for, you know, ever since, I don't know when it actually changed, but I texted you one day and I was like, hey, I need a theme song for this podcast or an intro, a song. You sent me a couple different things and I was like, this one's the one. You put some voice over it. And then it's ever since then, I've been like, hey, I need this. Hey, I need this. And you actually, what you guys just heard before this episode started was the first time that I got played, Q&A Friday, the new music intro for Q&A Friday.
What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Q&A Friday, where me and maybe a guest answer your questions. If you have a question you want answered on this podcast, email roughneckspodcast@gmail.com. Let's get into it.
but you made every single beat for this podcast.
Yeah, man. I'm glad I could help you out too, because it's crazy when you first contacted me about the music for the podcast and stuff. I was in the middle of making a podcast of my own for a media class I was in, and I had already been making music for that, for like the cut scenes and the intro and stuff. And then when you asked me about it, I was like, oh wow, I've already been doing this. Might as well just help you out. And then I'm glad you liked a couple of the beats I sent too.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, I think people like it too. I get some crap sometimes, like you're now tuning in, and I'm like, hey, you know what? It sounds good. All right, it actually sounds official. It's not this fake stuff that I used to just take some stuff off the internet and use it, and just because I don't know how to make music. I'm terrible at it. I can edit a podcast, but when it comes to actually like making beats and stuff, no, I'm out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
no, it was super exciting. I'm glad I could do that for you.
just to give our fans a little like background on who you are, tell like the Roughnecks fans like who is Dante Fair at this time.
So yeah, my name's Dante Fair. I graduated from Watkins Memorial High School, class of 2017 with Cole. After high school, I went on to the College of Worcester and I played football up there. And
Go Bishops.
yeah. Currently I'm just working like 9 to 5 for an insurance technology company. And I'm also working on a company of my own on the side. But yeah, I'm just continuing to better myself with this new year. I need to get back in the gym. That's one thing that I want to do, and I need you to get on me about that.
Dude,
back in
I have
gym.
yet to be to the gym. I think I've went once this year. So,
Hey, so
I'm
we're in the same
behind as
boat.
well. Even though I talk about it all the time on this podcast, you know, you got to do what you want. Yeah, I'm not. I don't always practice what I preach, but you know what? There comes a time when you wake the hell up and you just kind of you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
But so you know, it's kind of cool that you talked about starting your own business because it's crazy to look at where we were in high school. And well, I think one of these questions actually relates to what I'm about to say, but like, I don't think either of us expected to be in the position we are today. Like, I would have never guessed that I'd even have a podcast, first off. But it's crazy, like, from high school to now, how much things have changed.
Yeah, it is honestly really crazy. I mean, coming out of high school, graduating high school, I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and I was set on majoring in chemistry and just going like full throttle for that. And then I realized that I really didn't want to be in school for 12 more years. So I found something else that interested me and just ran with that. But to highlight your point about how everything's changed a lot, it's crazy how as time passes, your mindset changes, and like life experiences change that mindset as well. And it's just I'm very thankful for everything that's happened in my life that has made my mindset change. And I'm just happy for our whole friend group too, to see everyone like pursuing their dreams in their own way.
Yeah, exactly. And like you have those friends, like me and you were this way where, you know, we don't see each other. I don't even know the last time we've seen each other. It's been a while since we've actually like hung out, but like I know I could call you today and you do like if I needed something, you'd do it for me. Or like even when I just text you, I'm like, hey, I need some new music. You get back to me in like less than a week. So it's like you grow apart from your friends from high school, but at the same time, like you have those like I almost want to say like 5 or 6 people 5 or 6 people that you like still remain in contact with.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've actually had to like, you have to realize growing up. And like once you graduate from high school and college, like you might not see your friends every day, you might not talk to them every day, but they're still your friends and they still love you and they'll still do whatever for you. It's just everyone has life going on and everyone has to do their own things to make sure that they can live the life they want to, you know.
Heck, some of the people we graduated have kids by now, so and
That
married
is
and
very
stuff.
true.
And it's just weird. I'll never forget freaking going to a wedding like our freshman year of college, like after our freshman year, and I'm like, what? And what is going on right now? This doesn't even feel real. Like, are we adulting? I don't like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was like, oh wow, I know I'm not ready for marriage yet. I know
Oh
that, but
no, God no. But so for Q&A Friday number 2, this is the first time we're gonna do kind of this setup. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read off like 3. We talked about it the other day, me and you did, about how you know these questions are sent to me, so I like kind of have a gist for the questions, but like I don't prepare for them. I don't have like notes written down in front of me. Dante doesn't either. Dante has no clue what the questions are, but I made headings for these questions. I'm going to read 3 of them off to you. You pick which one. I'll read the question. We'll answer it.
All right, bet.
So the first 3, and I'm missing one. I had 3. I got to look and see which 3 I wanted. I don't know what happened to it. Oh well, I know what it is. So, because it was actually asked by Carter Franklin. So the first 3 are social media and happiness, dinner table, or where you are versus where you were.
Let's do social media happiness.
This is a question from Tyler Ruff, actually. He sent me this that day. I posted that on my Snapchat and was like, hey, I need questions. But so it is, how do people stay mentally happy while their phones and TV and media are always telling them to be afraid? You want to kick it off? You want me to?
Oh, I can do it. So I've actually struggled with this too. So for me, what I've had to start doing is you just have to realize that everything that or social media is a highlight of people's lives. It's a highlight tape.
100% what I was thinking. Yes.
Think about the huddle highlight tapes that we made in high school. All that, you only post your best plays. You're not going to post a play of you getting burnt for 60 yards down the field, you know? So you're not going to see the bad of anybody's life on social media unless it's just people ranting about things that they want to get off their chest, and they use that as kind of a space to get things off their chest. But social media is literally just a highlight of people's lives, and you got to realize that you can't compare your life to someone else's life because everybody has their own experiences. Like, you can't look at someone on Instagram and see that they're always on the beach having fun, partying, and then relate that to your life and think that you're not in a place where you should be just because you're not where they are. And that's really what I've had to like come to terms with, is just everybody is unique and everybody has their own life experiences. So you can't create an idea of someone based off their highlight tape.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's like where I was gonna go with this. Hey, there's that other question. But I like, you look at, like, it's a highlight reel, and that's, we've talked about that on this podcast multiple times with the different guests. But you can't look at everybody's social media and think that's the life you want, because what you see, you don't get to behind the scenes. And like, people also look at, somebody will post they got this new car, they got whatever new house, and it's like, oh, it must be nice. And it's like, you don't see too, like, the hard work that they might probably put in to freaking get where they're at. And that's where it's hard. And I think one of the best things, like, to kind of, you know s- control your mental, because social media can like destroy your mental game. And I think one of the best things, it's actually something I started doing, is like limiting your social media, because we all get caught in it. It's the endless scroll where you just sitting there at night laying in bed and you just don't stop. You're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. You just continue to go on it. So what I started doing personally is, you can put your phone on do not disturb. So from at 9 o'clock at night, my phone automatically goes to do not disturb. And so I don't see, I don't get tempted to see these notifications. Oh, I got a new Snapchat. I got a, because I get notifications from the Roughnecks Instagram pretty constantly. And I'll go check that, see how a post is doing. But like, now I'm limiting myself from 9 p.m. till about 7:15 in the morning, because I try to wake up at 5, but at the latest I wake up at 7. So like, it at least gives me time to like get out of bed, not, because that's what a lot of us do. The last thing we do at night is look at our phones, and the first thing we do in the morning is look at our phones. And that's what I've tried to limit myself, because it's best, you got to limit yourself. Otherwise, you get caught in that endless scroll. And that's what social media wants. That's the bad thing about these social media, the people who own these companies, they continuously try to draw you in. That's all they do. That's why they have like the reels, the TikTok. I love TikTok, but it is the worst app. It is the most
Right.
addictive app, because you can sit there and scroll for 2 hours and not know what happened.
Yeah, it's like I actually learned this in a media class I was taking in school too. It's they create these sites. It's kind of like a lottery game. Like, you scroll, you can swipe down, you see the refresh, and then boom, you get a new post. You're like, oh, excited, that excited feeling because you got a new post to look at. And they create it like that just so people become addicted to it. So you definitely gotta know yourself, but know that everything you see on social media is not real life.
No, and like, to the to the point, like he's talking, Tyler said, how do you, what it tells him to be scared. And you have to know what's real news and what's not, because of how much stuff is out there. Facebook Instagram, Twitter, I don't care what it is. People post things just so they get likes. And
100%.
like, not everything's real news. Some things are literally just to get you to look at them, just to get you to look into it, and that's literally all it is. It's clickbait, essentially, is all it is. And you have to, like, you start to realize as you get older, because when we're younger, we're like, oh, what, this happened, and you start looking at it. But like now, you start to realize, like, not everything's real, not everything's the truth. Sometimes it's bullcrap, and you just gotta. I think the biggest thing to staying mentally happy with social media is limiting your exposure to it. Not No, don't get me wrong. Social media can be a great tool because it is the only reason this podcast gets any recognition, really, because I use that and that's how I expand. But you have to know your limits.
You said something very good there. It's a tool. Like, it is a tool for you. You can build your own brand on it. You can market yourself. It is a tool, but do not let social media use you as the tool. And that's pretty much where I'm gonna end that.
Yeah, and
It's
100
just
going off that, like, it doesn't define you. How many likes you get does not define who you are. It doesn't define your life. It doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, it's just like it's almost like a popularity thing. But yeah, so I think we answered that one pretty freaking good. Just kicking off this episode pretty good. So I'll throw three more. We're gonna stick with two of the same ones and then a new one. So where you were versus where you are, dinner table and about you.
let's do dinner table.
Oh, I've actually answered this question. That's why I threw it in here, because it's actually a deep one. And this is from Sierra. Met her on TikTok. She hopped in my lives and actually just threw this question at me out of nowhere. And I was like, whoa. So you're sitting at the dinner table and can sit with one person from the past, present, or future. Who and why?
Whoa.
That's exactly my response when she first asked me that. I was just like, damn. All right.
The past, present, or future. It has to be one person. Man.
I'll kick it off because I already know
All
my
right.
answer.
Okay.
So mine would probably be my grandfather. Um, he died when I was in 5th grade, and I was somewhat close to him. But like, you grow up and you realize, like, you had a relationship with him, but you're like, damn, what would that relationship be like now? And he was just like, I hear stories all the time, and I'm like, damn, I wish I could just, like, have one more conversation, like, and also, like, because like things have changed a lot since I was in 5th grade and where I'm at. So it's like I wish I could go back and just have one more conversation with my grandfather, because I feel like I never really had like an actual, like, true conversation with him, because I was in 5th grade, or fourth, 5th grade, and then you never really get to have a deep, sensual conversation.
Right. Yeah, no, I feel that for sure. And when you're that young, I mean, you don't really think that deeply either to even have that deep of a conversation. But man, I was thinking over here, still can't figure it out. But I would say if I'll stick with family too, and I'd probably say my great uncle Bruce, and because he passed away tragically when I was younger. I don't remember what age exactly, but it was kind of the same deal. I used to go to work with him all the time. He owned a like a lawn care business, and we'd have fun. I mean, for my young mind, I guess it was fun. It was just riding around with him. We would ride quads and stuff. And I never really got to, I mean, I knew him, but I never got to really get to know him personally on an adult level, just because, I mean, when you're an adult, I'm not going to talk to a third, fourth, or fifth grader about like real life
Yeah, like, I
problems.
don't I don't sit there and have conversations with my nieces that I'd have with my brother-in-law or my sister or whatever.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that would be, I would really enjoy that, just to kind of pick his brain, but also just like to find out exactly what type of person he was, just because I mean, I only hear stories now. I have the slight memories that like we like when we were together when I was younger, but other than that, I don't remember much.
Exactly. And that's kind of just going off this is like, take those moments in now that we're older. I think we definitely start to take those moments in more, because I think we start to slow down a lot more and like realize, like, these times aren't going to last forever. I've thought about that. Like, I have no grandparents left. All of my grandparents have passed away. And, I look at back sometimes and I'm like, I don't necessarily regret, because I don't like to say, like, I don't like to regret things. I don't think you should regret anything in life, but like, I wish I'd like, spend a little more time over there instead of like, oh, I got to go rake leaves at my grandma's, or I got to go mow my grandma. Like, and it's just like, those were actually the times. Like, I always mowed my grandma's, the one off there off 40, and I mowed that for freaking since I was in like fourth grade. And like, she'd always sit there and watch me, and I hated when she watched me because she always told me I was going too fast on the mower. But like, I look back and I'm like, those are like, I'd do anything to do that again. Like, I wish I could do it. But so we got more. We got where you were versus where you are, about you, and risk.
Oh, let's get this. Let's do the where
Where you
where
were
you.
versus where you are.
Yep.
So this one's from Carter Franklin. So I ask on all my episodes now. He's the first guest that I did it to, and I haven't had a guest since. So, but I ask all my guests to give a question for Q&A Friday, because it just creates, some different questions. And this one is where you are right now. We kind of already hit on this one. Where you are right now, did you see yourself here 5 years ago? Why or why not?
I personally did not. Like, as I mentioned earlier, 5 years ago, so what, I would have been like graduating high school. Like I said, I thought I was going to be a doctor. I was fully set
5 years
on
ago,
it.
we're graduating high school. God, I'm starting to feel a little old.
Yeah. um yeah, I was fully set on being a doctor. Any senior night activities that said like, what are your future plans for school and stuff, it was always I was going to be a sports medicine doctor, and obviously, like, that, I decided not to do that, but and I'm glad I did, because I found a lot of opportunities from not, I wouldn't say, so I still had to hit the books in school, but if I would have been a chemistry major, I would have been in the books 24/7.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no free time there. But there's a lot of opportunities that were created for me just from networking and just finding the right people to surround myself with while I was at school. But to answer the question, no, I did not see myself where I am now 5 years ago.
Yeah, I did not either as well. Oh, 5 years ago, first off, I had no clue exactly what I wanted to do after college. Yeah, I think the only thing I might have been able to guess is the fact that I'm working a manual labor job. Because that's what I've done pretty much my whole life. So like, well, I don't know. I was going to college, so I was thinking maybe possibly I wouldn't be doing that ever again. But I wouldn't, like I said earlier, I never thought I'd even have a podcast. I didn't even really know what I didn't even listen to podcast until I started podcasting. And, I would have never thought that I'd have my own brand essentially, and honestly, I didn't think I'd even make it through college, but somehow did that. Well, after my freshman year, I was like, there is no way I'm going to graduate, because I had like a 1.65 or something. And I was like, and you were a good student in high school, just like I was. I had a 3.7 out of high school, and not anything like spectacular, but it's still a damn good GPA. And then I went to college, and you learn real quick, holy shit, you actually have to study for these tests.
Oh yeah, that first year, that first semester definitely smacks you in the face. You look at your grade, you're like, what?
That's why
What?
they, when you're scheduling your classes, they have someone there with you, because they're like, listen, you do not want to take this class yet. You need to ease your way into it. And you're like, nah, I'll be fine. No, I wasn't fine. I
Right.
also was like, yeah, I'll be that was my thing too. Like, I was like you. I went into college thinking I was going to go into computer science and, do computer programming and shit. Fuck no. God, that shit's hard. I give props to the people who can do that, dude. I remember sitting there in class and like we're working on an assignment and I'm watching everybody else like on their computers just typing away. And I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Like, and like my professor, and he was good. He was a smart guy and knew a lot, but he was not the best at like helping you when you really didn't understand anything. But yeah, like, and that's like a point to like, if anybody, young listeners or really anybody, because like we could ask the same question in 5 years and it'd probably be the same answer. Like, we wouldn't think
Right.
where we are, but like, just know, have a plan, but expect that plan to change. And don't be like scared of change, because it's gonna happen. It's bound to happen. Like, just look at our world today. Like, no one expected COVID to even become a thing. And now we're going through everything, and people, people also thought, oh, it's going to be gone in a few months. No, it's still here. And that's what's crazy is you got the world, and you got things happening around the world that are weighing into kind of your life, not directly but indirectly. Like they make an impact, and every things happen, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And another thing on top of that is, I mean, I live by this, and it's hard to understand sometimes, but it's just everything happens for a reason. And I 100% believe that the worst possible thing could happen to me, and I'm still going to believe that it happened for a reason, because there's some lesson that I need to learn from this situation. And it's gotten me through a lot of things. And even with like change, don't be afraid of change. Change is what makes you grow. And then along with that change, along with change comes like that, what I said, everything happens for a reason. So any obstacle you run into while you are going through that change is for a reason.
100%. I actually have a video or a sound. I'll post the video on YouTube, but actually, you know what? We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to have this video because it kind of relates, going off exactly what you just said. Today's episode is brought to you by roughneckspodcast.com. If you want to support the podcast, then head over to roughneckspodcast.com and grab you some of that Roughnecks merch. We have everything from t-shirts, long sleeves, sweatshirts, hats, and many more. Stay up to date on the website for new merch coming every couple months. You can place an order and it'll get sent directly to your door, and I don't even take any of the money from it. The money gets put right back into the podcast to continue to improve it for you. If you can't afford to buy some merch this time, then simply just subscribe to the newsletter, and it'll keep you up to date on all the new things that are coming. I appreciate all of the support you guys give. It doesn't go unnoticed. Let's get back to today's episode. All right, so we're back, and I found a video. That's kind of the reason we took the break. I had to find this video, but I want to play this quick little video and just listen to it. I don't know if you've heard it, Dante, but I think this is a military guy. It's on the Joe Rogan podcast, I believe. I found it on TikTok and I saved it because I actually might make an episode relating to this, but here it is.
Story of the Chinese farmer. You ever seen that?
No.
So he loses his horse, and everybody in the town comes over and they say, "Oh, well, that's terrible." And he's like, "Maybe." And then the next day, 7 wild horses come back, and they all come over and they say, "Oh, well, that's great." And he says, "Well, maybe." And the next day, his kid is taking out one of the wild horses and breaks his leg, and the whole town comes over and they say, "Oh, that's terrible now, isn't it?" He says, "Maybe." And the next day, the conscription officers come over and they're, taking people into the military to go fight, and they pass by his son because he's got a broken leg, and the whole town comes over and they say, "Oh, that's great now, isn't it?" He says, "Maybe." And the point of it is that you never really know if something is bad or good because you don't know how that's going to affect the rest of your life.
That right there is going off everything happens for a reason. And we look at these bad times, we look at our good times, but we don't know if it's good or bad thing. We really don't. Because there's been breakups. I'll just come out and say it. There's been breakups that I've had where, at the time you're like, damn, this sucks. I really like this one. I've had times where I'm like, man, I thought this was actually the one. But then now I'm where I'm at. And I'm like, I'm glad. I'm happy that this happened because it how things were. And it's just everything that happens, good or bad, you don't know if it's good or bad until there's good things that could happen to you that could later on be bad. And you just have no clue. And it's one of those things that when I heard that, I was like, damn, that actually hits pretty damn deep. And when you really sit there and think about it, and the point is the good things or bad things, you don't know how they're going to affect your life. Yeah,
you literally have no idea until you look back on it and you're like, wow, I would not be here if that wouldn't have happened to me, or vice versa. It's life is crazy. That's all. Life is a roller coaster for sure.
100%. So we're gonna go into the next one, and I'm gonna pick this one. This one. I'll pick this one. It's about you, and I should have phrased this better, but because I know the question. It is from Allie. Good old Allie. If you're listening, you're welcome. Your question made it on. But it is, what is the worst thing about you? And the only reason I actually kept this in here, because the first one I was like, why the hell would I ask that? Like, why would I just call myself out like that? But then I also looked at it like, it's good to sometimes look at yourself and say, what is the worst thing about me? Because when you point out the worst thing about you, sometimes it like hits you like, damn, I need to change something. So I'll kick it to you. Do you want to start it or you want me to?
Yeah, I can start it. I think I have an answer.
All right.
The worst thing about me, I would say, is probably my confidence. And I'm not sure what that stems from. Maybe just being different in school, like not even different personality wise, but different color wise. When I first came to Watkins, I mean, I was like one of the few black people there.
We have like 10 maybe.
Yeah, it was so I think that kind of started off the whole confidence thing, always thinking in the back of my head I'm different, and then that converting to me just not thinking I'm good enough. But it's just, yeah, I would say confidence. It's like I believe in myself. I wouldn't say I don't believe in myself, but there just comes like a point in time or points in time where I don't think what I'm doing is good enough, or me myself, I'm not good enough. And then sometimes you just got to look in the mirror and you're just like, you're doing the best you can right now.
Mhm.
Like, just keep going.
Exactly. And I'm kind of going off of that with mine, but mine's a little bit different. Is like it's an expansion off of it because I look at sometimes I am not confident enough because I'm afraid sometimes to step out of my comfort zone because I get stuck with the things that I like. And it's, I know I've been the past few or this episode or last episode and the one that coming out next Monday is, it's about, my job and like just basically doing what makes you happy and stuff. People are going to tell you, oh, you should do this, you should do that, but like do what you want to do. And like, but that's also one of the things people have brought up to me, like, you're still in this job, I think, because of the fact that you're comfortable with it. And like, yeah, part of that is the truth, but also at the same time, like, I love my job. But like, I look at there's a lot of things where, it takes me like this podcast took me a while to kind of step out of my comfort zone. Like I was afraid to post it on my Instagram because I'm like, what are people going to think that I have a podcast? Are they going to think it's dumb? But then I also got to the point where I was like, I really don't care what you think.
Mhm.
Like, but it's a hard thing to do is like this once you find what's comfortable, it's hard to like do something that's uncomfortable. It's not easy. And I know we talk about it on this podcast. Like you have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to da da da. Like, yeah, what I'd say on this podcast, what people say on this podcast, we're not saying that we 100% always do it. Like nobody's perfect. We also learn from those mistakes, but like, stepping out of your comfort zone for me or stepping out of my comfort zone is one of the things that I do struggle with because I stay with what I know. And I've gotten better 100%. Like, cause like it's crazy. Like I didn't like speaking in front of people when I was, in high school, but I still don't really care for it. But like been asked by a couple of my old teachers and professors, like, "Hey, you want to come speak to the class?" And I'm like, "Let's do it." Like,
Yeah,
you know what? There's only one way to get over that fear is to go and do it. So like,
exactly.
that's the best way. It's not a bunch of people. It's just a class. So I'll do it. But it's one of those stepping out of your comfort zone is probably the worst thing about me, or not stepping out of my comfort zone enough is one of my biggest weaknesses in my opinion. So next three, we got risk, one last chance, and dealing with death.
Cool. Um, let's do one last chance. I'm liking the sound of that.
You're not gonna like it.
Uh,
You will. It's another one from Sierra who hit us with that deep question earlier, but
oh shoot.
she asked a lot of deep questions. She has more too. That's what's. I'm like, where the hell do you come up with?
Yeah.
Keep sending them to me. I'm like, all right, listen, I can't do that many deep questions. I gotta, keep the mood a little light. But it's 10 minutes to talk to one person before you die. Who and what do you say?
Oh my goodness.
You got 10 minutes and it's one person. First off, are they 100% answering the phone? Because I can't always, the person that I might say, she might not answer the phone. So I don't even know. We'll just say they're 100% going to answer.
Okay. Me personally, if I had like 10 minutes left, I would call my mom, and
Very nice
that's
lady. Awesome lady.
and that's pretty much just because she's like one of the few people who's been there for me since birth, obviously. She goes above and beyond in every aspect of being a mother, and it's just I would just use those 10 minutes to just make sure she knows how much I appreciate everything she's done for me.
Mm-hmm. You know, people might think they're these because I'm the same way. I see that's my can I choose my mom and my dad at the same time? Does that count? Because like, how do I choose?
I mean, I feel like if you call one of them and they're together, you'll
They're
still be
always
able to talk
together. I
about
mean,
them.
unless they're at work, they're here at the house. But so I'm gonna choose my parents as a singular phone call. But you know, people might say, "Oh, this is such a cliche answer," but like, you know, everybody listening knows. If you had to like, so I'm a mama's boy. We're both mama's boys. Like, listen, if I had to talk to one person like one last time, it's 100% gonna be, you know, the people that raised me, the person that was always, like you said, always there for you and through the good times, bad times, who, you know, was on our ass, but also teaching us a lesson that we didn't realize until we're 23. But you know, it's one of those things that you want to talk to them, and I choose my parents, and you know, I do the same thing, like tell them, you know, how thankful I am for how hard they worked, because like they had 4 kids that they raised, and you know, we didn't always have a crap load of money, but I always tell people like I didn't grow up poor because I had everything I needed, but I didn't have everything I wanted. But there's
Right.
also a lesson built inside of that. Like I'm glad that I didn't have everything I wanted because I didn't want to become like a spoiled little brat. Like we see it all the time. Not trying to knock anybody or anything, but like, you know, you see people who grow up, you know, with, you know, I don't want to, I kind of sound like a dickhead for saying this, but like with daddy's money, and then but like when they get later in life, I feel like they're not, you know, they're not good with their money, and they're not used to like this whole bills thing, and like, you know, like nobody's used to bills when they first get them, but like the point is like you learn lessons when you aren't handed everything in life.
Yeah, and you definitely you learn you learn what money is worth too. Because I feel like when you're younger, you don't really realize that, like, oh, if I buy this candy bar, I'm taking my mom's last cash out of her wallet. Or you know what I mean? You don't realize that. But when you get older, you're like, wow, this $4 Snickers bar is not worth it, you know?
No, it
Like,
may taste good, but it ain't worth $4.
right.
It's crazy what happens. Like I realized, so we talked a little bit about this before the episode. I don't even know if I've said this on the podcast, but like, you know, I quit when January 1st hit. No, it was not a New Year's resolution because I just knocked New Year's resolutions in the first episode of the year. I think New Year's resolutions are dumb because no one really truly follows through with them. But I think it's good to set goals, but I hate resolutions. You know, I quit drinking. Well, I don't want to say quit drinking. I took a break from drinking, and I took a break from dipping. I'm back to that. But I took a break. You know, I was drinking 2 monsters a day, every single day. I was stopping it. Like when I finally like kind of sat there for a minute, my boss actually was the one that said it to me because he can do math in his head like freaking some math magician or something. But he was like, so you go to the gas station, you get 2 monsters, can of dip, and I got an Amish pie every single morning. Every day on the way to work, I'd stop. You know, that's, you know, we'll say it's $20. So say you do that 5 times a week, there's 100 or what, $120.
Mm-hmm.
4 weeks. So, and then we got 4 times 12 is 1248, 60, right? 60, and then 72, $720 a month. And when you put that into perspective, like $720 a month at the gas station, you're like, whoa,
That's almost
that's like a paycheck almost.
yeah. That's
And
almost a rent payment somewhere.
yeah. And like that was the point where it hit me. I was like, holy shit, I might need to take a step back from this. But like that's going off of what you said. You don't realize what money's worth until you're older. Cause like, you know, when we're younger, we're like, well, why can't I get like a Gatorade or whatever? You don't realize how much that stuff's like gas stations, that stuff starts to add up on you.
Or think about back in the day. I think middle school is when they started becoming a thing. Elite socks, man.
Oh, good God. Why did those ever become a thing first off?
Dude, they were $15 a pair.
And
Like
everybody had them.
everybody had them, and they were $15 a pair for just 2 socks. Like $15 for 2 socks. Like, man, I
Wipe
would.
up the back.
Yeah.
Now you see people with elite socks on, you're like, dude, those were out of style like 5 years ago. I think I don't know the last time I wore elite socks because I wore them. I may have worn them freshman year. No, because they gave us socks, so I wore those socks for games. But like senior year was probably the last time I wear them now for work. That I still have them. They're my work.
Yeah, they are comfy. I will give
Yeah.
them that. They are super comfy.
And they do breathe pretty well. So yeah. So we got sidetracked on that question, but hey, that's besides the point. All right, I'll hit you with this one. We got risk, dealing with death, and stress.
Risk.
This is actually my question I threw in.
Oh, I bet.
It hit me, and I was curious. I didn't even come up with an answer. Now I wish I would have, because now I got to sit here and think about it. But what is one thing you haven't done but want to?
Ooh, one thing I haven't done that I want to is skydiving. I would love to do that. I'm kind of weird about heights sometimes. When I was younger, I was like super afraid of heights, but now that I've been on airplanes and stuff, and it doesn't really bother me. But I feel like just the feeling of jumping out of a plane and just feeling gravity on you, and just like the fact that you're like free falling, and you know how you get that feeling when you're on like a roller coaster or something, that feeling in your stomach. I can't imagine having that feeling for like a whole fall or something like that. I think it'd be so cool.
How long does a skydive actually last? I've never. That's something that literally just popped in my head. Like, how long are you in the air? Like, like
Yeah, honestly, I don't know, but I feel like some of the videos I see of people skydiving, they're up there for like it seems like an hour or two.
I'm about to look this up because I'm curious. I got my dual monitors now, so it's kind of
Oh wow.
I can look stuff up during the podcast. But we're gonna look at this because how long? Hold on, here we go. How long are you in the air when skydiving? Hey, it's a question that first popped up. 1 minute and 20 seconds
Wow, that's it.
of free
Holy
fall
crap.
time. So I don't know. I mean so a free fall time that might be just the you have holy 1,000 feet every 5 seconds. So going up to 18,000 feet will give you a whopping 1 minute and 20 seconds of free fall time. And then you got to add in like parachute too.
Mhm.
So you're probably up there for what? Not even 5 minutes,
Right.
depending on how high you go up and jump. I don't know what people jump.
Yeah, I don't know like the basic requirements of skydiving, but
This one
wow,
says
yeah.
30 seconds. So this one says 10,000 feet. That means you'll be free falling for approximately 30 seconds. 14,000 feet, 60 seconds, and 18,000 feet is 90 seconds.
Wow. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
Still,
surprising. I thought it'd
that's
be a
probably
little
going to be the
longer.
longest minute of your life, though. Of
Heck yeah, dude.
course, then again, I'd be like, hey, can I go do that again? Like, that was only like 5 minutes. I want to do it again. That's crazy. So, one thing that I have yet to do that I want to do, I want to go out west. I've been lately for the past, like, I don't know, year, ever since I graduated, really. I've been like on the verge of literally just packing up, moving out west and figuring it out. Like Montana, Wyoming, you know me, I'd be in heaven. But
Yeah, you would.
that's my like so when I was dating my ex, her dad goes out to is it Colorado, Montana, somewhere out west, and he elk hunts every year, and like he goes to this ranch and stuff. He's like, yeah, you can come out with me, and I'm like, the problem is, I go out there, I ain't coming back with you.
Right.
I'll stay there. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I know I'd love it, but I want to at least go out and visit. It's something in the next 5 years. I want to make sure like I get out west somewhere and just, at least visit. I even for a minute started looking at ranch jobs and was like, screw it. But I also then I kind of had the realization, hey, these student loans aren't cheap and you got to pay those back. So I don't know if you're making enough money to do that. So
Hey, shout out to Biden though.
yes.
Shout out to Biden.
Yes. But yeah, I going out west is something that I want to do. And when I don't know if I told you this, but like I was talking to mom and dad one day this summer. I got home. This was when I wasn't even living at home, and I came home, or I came here, and I stopped by, and I was like, hey, I was talking to him. I was like, what would you do if I said like I've been contemplating just finding a job out west and going out west? And they both looked at me and were like, do it. And I was like, what? Wait, what? Huh? Like I didn't really expect it. And they're like, if you're gonna do it, now's the time to do it because you have nothing tying you down. And I was like,
Right.
no, that's a very good point. Because like, and I think mom told me one night, this was a couple years ago, but she was like, I always thought you'd be the one to like go away and like not come back, essentially, like move away to a different state or like move
Mhm.
far away. And I was like, oh, my problem is I got 8 nieces and nephews that I love to death. That it'd be real hard to kind of just walk away, especially when they're this young. It's like, oh, I have
Yeah.
kids, but I don't have kids.
It's a lot different too when it's not just a drive to go see them and you have to actually plan a trip and a plane ticket and everything
You
like
gotta
that.
even if you can't just come for like one day and then you got to take off work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult, and but yeah, I'll end up out west even if it's for a week, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Time is the most valuable asset, man, and we got a lot of it. So
But you only have a limited amount of it too. That's the
that's
other.
true. That's true.
So the next question. Ooh, I want to do this one because it's an interesting one. This one's from Allie too. It's called food,
Okay.
and when she asked this, I was kind of confused. I didn't know. I didn't even know how I was going to answer this. But what is one food that scares you?
Ooh.
I've never thought
Wow.
about this, but it's a good question.
Um,
See, I'm
for
not a picky
me,
eater though, so that's hard for me. Like I
yeah,
eat pretty much anything.
I'm not a picky eater either, but I wouldn't say I have one specific food that scares me, but it's like a group of foods, like seafood. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just because we grew up in Ohio and it's just not like we can go out and like catch us a nice meal. But I
Mhm.
mean, I guess you can, but it's not like exotic seafood.
No, we're
But
eating like catfish and shit.
yeah. But it's just I don't know. It's something about seafood just scares me. Like even like I've tried like multiple types of seafood, but it's just like
I think a lot of it's the texture.
yeah, definitely.
Definitely has a different texture than like, the farm food that we're used to here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I don't like for me, like I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like shrimp. I'm never gonna eat shrimp but now I love shrimp, so I don't know. But it's like seafood was like for me, I was the same way, but like it started to grow on me. But one food that scares me. I honestly can't say. It'd have to be something like it wouldn't be something I guess that we'd eat here. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. It'd be something like that they eat overseas or like India or something or like some weird stuff that they find normal that we find weird. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't they eat like freaking brains and crap somewhere overseas or something?
I have heard of people eating brains. I'm not sure
Sheep brain
exactly.
or something. I don't know. I don't know. Like I couldn't, and I don't know because don't technically. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's legal in the United States, but like, don't people eat horses somewhere?
I mean, people
They probably,
probably eat anything. I mean, if you
I don't know
could
if I
cook
could.
it and eat it, I bet someone's tried to.
I don't know if I could eat horse. Like, it sounds weird because like we eat cows and I eat deer all the freaking time, but horse, like I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have anything that comes into my mind exactly, but it'd be, you know, don't they eat fish eggs or something too? I don't know. Now I'm just thinking of weird foods.
Yeah.
Now we're going back to the trusty computer. Weird foods people eat.
To be like paper clips.
Okay, yeah, probably. Tuna eyeballs in Japan.
Okay.
I don't know what ballot, the Philippines. Fried terratental. I don't know what the hell that word is. White ant egg soup. What? I don't know. Now we're just going down this chicken feet, bro. What? No, that can't be real. East Asia. Okay, it can't be real. I don't know. All right, we're going down a rabbit hole that I don't want to go down anymore. But yeah, I don't know. Some people eat some weird things, but I don't really have anything off the top of my head. But we're down to 3 questions. It's crazy.
Oh.
I might have to come up with more. I don't know. We'll see. We got dealing with death, stress, money, or life.
Um, Let's go. Let's go dealing with death. Let's get this one.
This one is from Anonymous, and it's a deeper question. The only reason I did it is because it sounds bad, but so I'm kind of taking this format off the Granger Smith podcast. For those of you who know me, you know I love Granger Smith. His podcast, now he gets a lot more people to email him questions because he's a lot bigger name, but people email him questions like this all the freaking time. And I was like, you know what? We're gonna give it a shot, see how it goes. But my fiance of 2.5 years just passed away, and I'm not sure how to handle it.
Also, the question is how would
Basically,
I
yeah,
handle it?
how should you handle it? And that's a tough one kind of for both of us because I don't feel like we've really lost anybody, like we haven't really lost anybody like that.
Mm-mm. I would just relate back to what I said earlier on this podcast, and pretty much everything happens for a reason. That reason, I mean, you're never gonna figure out that reason really,
Mhm.
especially if someone that close to you, someone that near and dear to your heart passes away. But just know that the higher power has bigger plans for you in store, and it's just I don't know. It's hard because like if that were to happen to me, I know anyone would. You're gonna take it very hard, and you're gonna question like why did this happen? Like why me? Da da da. But you just gotta kind of look at yourself and just keep going and know that that person that you loved who passed away would want you to continue on with your life,
Mhm.
and just kind of know that you have a guardian angel over you now too.
Exactly. That's one thing I was gonna say is know that they are always watching over you. Like we always have somebody on our over watching over us, in my opinion. Whether you believe in the higher power or not, um, I feel like there's always like I feel no one knows for sure, but it helps to know that or believe that there is a higher power, there is somebody watching over you. Um, no, they I don't know the circumstance of the death or like anything like that, but you know and that might have helped their suffering. You never know what exactly was going on. But my biggest piece of advice I could probably give, um, and you could use this in a breakup, you could use this in a lot of things because like we all go through those points where we feel like everything's against us and we're just down. Take that time to grieve. You're supposed to grieve. Like it is a healthy thing. It's actually unhealthy to hold your emotions in. Take that time to grieve, but also don't take advantage of that time in a way. Like don't you can't fixate on it forever. I'm not saying that that feeling's not gonna go away, but you like you said, you have to move on with your life. Um, but take the time to take it in and like grieve and like you're allowed to cry. It's okay to cry. You're allowed to feel the pain, but it take the time to grieve and then eventually like you got to pick yourself up and just keep moving. Because if you sit there and you grieve too long and like you hold on to this idea that you wish was still here, like you will get stuck and you'll never go forward in life.
Yeah, and another point, just based off what you said about take the time to grieve, um, it is more harmful to hold that in because say you don't take any time to grieve, you're right back into life, and 3 months down the road, something bad happens to you again, and then everything that you held in from that time, um, from that death, and then to this point where this next bad thing happens to you, it's all going to hit you at once, and it's going to be 10 times worse than if you would have dealt. Well, you can't really deal with it, but you can grieve the death, and then you can make it easier on yourself to so other things don't affect you as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of that. I kept a lot of things in. Like, we're guys. We're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to do this. But like, I realized when I finally, like, cause I had a temper problem. I got angry like that, and I say, oh, I'm just like my dad. But like at the same time, like you control your temper. No one else
Hmm.
controls that for you. You're the one that's in control of it. But you know what I started to finally realize is why I was blowing up was the fact that I kept everything in and just wouldn't talk about it, wouldn't express my emotions about things. And then when finally you hit a breaking point and it
Mhm.
just you snap and it's not healthy. And that's when I finally realized, like, hey, this isn't healthy. And you know what? Even if people want to call me a little girl or something, I don't care. At least now I know I'm not getting, like, I'm not blowing up. Even if you just like, I think a big thing too, like this person could use it. Journal. I journal every
Mhm.
day, which people might think it's weird for a guy to journal, but there's a lot of guys out there that do journal, and you don't have to write a bunch. Sometimes, and like Granger Smith actually talks about this, and he's like, I look back at my journal sometimes, like from a year ago, from a month ago, and it's crazy how much you'll see, like how things will change, or
Mhm.
see, hey, things are going kind of downhill. Like it's time to, we might have to pick this up a little bit, but it's good to get your thoughts out or get your emotions, even if you just write them down. At least you're stepping in the right direction.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. I don't journal, but I write songs when, especially like if I'm feeling down or just any type of emotion that I feel like I need to get off my chest, I'll just write songs, and it's pretty much the same as journaling. It's just gathering your thoughts and then like creating something from those thoughts, and just like allowing your creative side, or just allow your emotions to take over a little bit there.
hmm It's okay to express emotions. That's kind of where we're going with this. But
But yeah, I mean, honestly, oh sorry,
nope,
but
you're
one
good.
thing, like I used to hold everything in too, and I still do to a point, but it just makes me think that I mean, I'm not blaming sports by any means on this, but it's like back when we were young in youth sports, bro, you did not cry.
hmm
Like if you cried, like everybody, like, no, you don't cry. You're hurt, don't cry. Like it was like instilled in our brain that we weren't allowed to cry no matter what the pain was, what the feeling was. And I'm glad things are changing now to where mental health is like on the agenda, to where like you're allowed to express emotion. And I just hope anybody listening to this podcast, or anybody I talk to in the future, I just hope you know that you can always express emotion, and just let people know how you're feeling, and you don't have to feel vulnerable about your feelings.
Yeah, because like you know, I remember I actually sent Alex a couple TikToks one night when I was like, just in a down spot, and he calls me and he's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "None." He's like, "Bullshit. What? Tell me what's going on." Like, and it's just, but you look at one of those things, and like when you finally start talking to people, because sometimes we're afraid to talk to people because we don't want them to think we're a pussy or whatever. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of times when I finally like open up to like some of my guy friends, it's like all of a sudden they're like, "Dude, I've been through the same thing," or like, "I'm going through this right now," or like all of a sudden you're like, "All right, like I feel better now." One, I just talked about it, and two, like other people go through it. Like we all
Exactly.
go through shit, and it's okay to open up and talk about it. And kind of going off what you said, like with sports, like yeah, we didn't cry on the field, but like as well as I do, when I got to that locker room, I fucking would lose my shit. But if
Oh,
we
me too.
lost, that's the thing, because we were just freaking competitors and we hated
Yeah.
losing. And then you hear it all the time. We hated losing more than we loved winning. But
Hmm.
it's like I think they were trying to instill that toughness. But back in the day, like back when it was worse when before, like with our parents and stuff. But like, they were trying to instill toughness, but also I feel like it was almost like you couldn't express emotion, like you said, like you weren't allowed, like it was looked down upon to express
Hmm.
emotion. And like I think there's a fine line between that. Like, yeah, you got to be tough. Like, you rolled your ankle, quit crying, quit being a bitch.
Hmm.
Because I remember I've actually talked about on this podcast when I broke my elbow in that Walnut Ridge game. You came over, grabbed my shoulder pad, and said, "Get up, quit being a pussy."
I don't even remember that. I'm weak.
I remember that because I was holding my elbow and I was like, "Fuck!" But yeah, I mean, it was just like it's okay to express emotions. Like, don't be a pussy, but at the same time, you can express yourself. It's okay. So we got
I,
two more questions. Oh, you got some more off this? Let's go.
no, I was just gonna say I do. I have heard some stories, and I do remember like that was. I mean, yeah, our senior year, I was just on the field. I was just so intense with things, man. Like
Oh,
I
but
remember one
you know as
time.
well as I do. I didn't want to lose, and I didn't want to come out of that game either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Jess. I mean, hell, Jesse made me give him mom's number that next day because he's like, "You're not gonna go get an X-ray," and I'm like, "Yeah, I will." He's like, "No, you won't. Give me your mom's number." I'm like, "Fuck. All right, I'll go get the X-ray."
Yeah, you're probably just gonna tape it up and keep playing.
I played the whole game. I mean, I was in pain, but
Oh, I bet. Yeah, that was wicked.
oh, dude. But hey, that Friday night definitely always helped.
Oh, for
Every
sure.
Friday night, Dante and Kyle and who else? Zane
Cal
and
Scott.
Cal Scott. Good old Cal Scott. It was us. What is that? Five. Us five every Friday night at my house. Home games, we had the bonfires in my house, and then away games, we still just came over. Mama Nixon always had those pizza rolls ready
Oh
every single
yeah.
time. Scott still brings it up. We've talked about it because he's been on the podcast twice or three times, and we still talk about that almost every episode. We're like, dude, I remember those Friday nights. He's like, your mom always had those pizza rolls. I was like, yeah.
Oh, they were the best tasting pizza rolls I have ever tasted to this day. I promise you that.
She would make them in the oven. Like as soon as she'd get home from the game, she'd put a whole thing in the oven and then throw them in a crock pot and turn it on warm just to keep them ready for us. And we'd literally, it'd be 2 in the morning and we'd be sitting there eating them. And now that next day when we're running that mile, it felt like death, but it was whatever. But we got two more questions left, and did you just pick that one or did I? I don't even remember.
I picked it, so you picked the next
All right,
one.
I got this one. We got money or life and stress. I'll save stress for the last question. Money or life, we got. It's from Carter. He actually asked me this, and I completely bombed the question when he asked me this on that episode because I did not understand the question. So if you don't understand the question, ask me because it took me a minute. It was when I was re-listening to the episode that I was like, "Wow, I'm an idiot." But if someone walked up to you right now and said, "Here's $10 million, you can have this, but you're gonna die tomorrow," do you take that $10 million and die tomorrow, or do you take nothing and continue the life you're living?
Me personally, I really enjoy life, and I enjoy everything I do on a day-to-day basis, even if it's just like I said, I work from home sometimes, and if it's just me waking up, opening up my laptop and starting work that way and not really doing much all day, I still enjoy that and the little experiences that come with that. So
Mhm.
I mean, $10 million is life changing, but how's it going to change your life if you have no more life after that? So
Exactly.
that's kind of my answer there.
See, that's where he was going with the question, and I took it completely wrong. I was thinking like, I'm dying tomorrow either way. That's what I
Oh,
thought was happening, and I was like, you get $10 million, or you don't get $10 million, and I was like, is this a trick question? Like, I think I'd take the $10 million knowing I'm gonna die tomorrow, but yeah, but yeah, I 100% agree, and I want to rephrase my answer for my loyal listeners who have listened to episodes and know that I bombed that question. I would 100% choose life. I would 100% choose, what I have now because, I think as we get older, we come to realize like money isn't everything. It can't buy your happiness. It really can't. Like you can't buy happiness. It can buy fun, but it can't buy like that fun only lasts for so long. Like what can you buy that lasts forever?
right. You can't buy a new brain or buy a new way of thinking. If you're still depressed, you're gonna be depressed if you have $10 million. If you don't have $10 million.
Just look at how many celebrities like you see it all the time. Celebrities talk about their mental health and like you're people are like, "Oh, what are you like? What are you complaining about? You have like this nice car, you have a nice house, you like have everything you want or whatever." But like they're still not happy. It's not because they want more or anything. It's because like I think you come to realize like this doesn't buy me happiness. It buys you fun for a little bit of time, but there comes a point when it's like not fun anymore.
And there comes a point where you still have to deal with yourself and you being alone. So if you don't like yourself, you're not gonna like yourself with $10 million. You're not gonna like yourself without $10 million. It all comes down to like your perspective of life and how you value life and how you value yourself too.
100%. But we're on to the last question. Perfect,
No,
perfect timing in my opinion. We're at roughly an hour recording time plus all the other stuff, so we're probably a little over an hour, but that's good. I like this one though. It's from Tyler. It's another one from Tyler. Good old Tyler Ruff. But what can people do to stay normal and not stress themselves to death? I believe that's the question. I want to check and make sure I didn't like paraphrase it when I wrote it down, but I
Mhm.
think because I almost feel like there should be more to that question. Now I gotta find Tyler because I think he sent it to me on Snapchat. Yeah, what did he say? What can people do to stay normal and not stress themselves to death? So basically, like, how can you control your stress levels? We'll put it that way.
For me, so honestly, I don't think I really realized what stress was until I went away to college.
We
Because in
thought we
high
had
school,
stress in high school, but it wasn't
yeah,
stress at all.
yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Because I mean, I never really knew what stress was until I went to college, and like with all the work, practice, the schedule, like you hardly have any time for yourself. And when you do have time for yourself, you're usually doing homework. So it's for me, when I when dealing with stress, I kind of approach it the same way I approach like when bad things happen to me, of everything happens for a reason, but I approach it as in like control what you can control.
Mhm.
If you have something, say you have we'll just do a school example. Say you have a project due at the end of the week and you haven't started it. Today's Wednesday. So what can you control in that situation? You can control starting that to make it so you don't have to stay up all night Thursday night. And that's kind of how I approached like
If you
schoolwork
just do
too.
half of it or like a
Yeah,
portion of it, it'll save you, another hour the next night.
exactly. So that's how I kind of learned to approach life problems like that too. Just because in school at Worcester, you have like a senior independent study, and it's pretty much just like a project that you work on with an advisor. It's solely your project. Da da da. I'm not gonna explain it too much, but I learned that like yeah, you have this big like checkered flag at the end, like this would be the finished project, but you have to hit all those little mile markers in between, and the only way to do that is to work on it or just to control what you can control, and that's hitting those markers until you hit that checkered flag. So with life and just stress in general, control what you can control. If something is stressing you out that you can't control, it shouldn't be stressing you out because you can't control it. It's going to happen to you no matter what.
Mm.
And that's pretty much, yeah, that's my answer for that one.
Going off of that, so I'm gonna take a different approach to answering this, but I like everything you just said is 100% right. But like you talked about those mile markers, and I look at sometimes like things like a ladder, and you can't climb a ladder when the spaces are so far apart. Like,
Mhm.
you can't space. It's good to have more steps because you get those little wins.
Mhm.
And those little wins, if you have this goal and you're stressing about, or you have this project and you're stressing about it, even if you were like, hey, I just wanted to find one website that will help me with this project. And you know what? You find that one, that's a little win right there. And that's a good thing. Like those little wins are important because you need those little wins. You need wins in life to continue. Like otherwise you just feel like that's where I catch myself all the time when I'm working on the podcast or working on, whatever. I start like working myself up sometimes because I start like making, I need to do this. And I'm like, I need to stop like saying I need to do all of this and be like, all right, here's the one goal I want to get accomplished right now. I'm gonna get that done, and then we'll talk about the next goal. Because like
Exactly.
you can't start like I think when we compile so many things that we need to get done or whatever, we look at the big scheme of things. Sometimes you just got to narrow your vision to one thing, and that'll help reduce that stress. And another thing, in my opinion, for stress is to find something you like to do that is stress free. I'm sure for you, it's probably like making music.
Mhm.
Tyler, we know what Tyler's is. It's freaking fishing. That man's gonna do anything for fishing. Like that. I know Tyler's not asking this question as like he needs advice. Per se, at
Mhm.
least I don't think so. I think it's just more of like a general question. But like for Tyler, it'd be fishing. For me anymore, it's like working on this podcast, or from I also do this thing called tree therapy, where I go sit in a tree stand for 4 or 5 hours every night, and it's great. It's because you know people can have their opinions on hunting and whatever they want to say. Even if you don't go hunt, go sit out in the woods for 2 hours and tell me your head isn't cleared by the time you're done. because it is one of the most stress relieving things in my opinion. Like just being outside first off and breathing in fresh air, and just like, you're alone with your thoughts. And it's good to like just kind of, you almost take a deep breath and you're like, I'm not worried about anything else right now. Like I am outside. I like it, and it's even cool too. Like I'll have deer come in that I know I'm not shooting and
Mhm.
everything, but like it is just awesome to sit there and like just watch like how they operate and watch. I freaking hate squirrels, but watch the squirrels go after each other, whatever. But like it's really cool sometimes. Like I've had a freaking groundhogs walk right behind my stand. I'm like, you come out here and you're going to end up somewhere else. But it's just like, it's cool to watch everything, like, life that it's cool to slow down sometimes. And like I think that's an important thing, is to find a hobby, find something that you like to do that doesn't feel like work, that doesn't feel like you're stressing over it. Like just find something that's relaxing. You know what? If it's freaking sitting out back on your lawn chair drinking a beer, then that's what it is. Find whatever it is. And it's like you need that time, even if it's just hanging out with your friends or whatever, but you need something that kind of where you're not stressed. Like you got to, everybody has that one thing that helps them, like where they don't feel stressed at all when they're doing it. And I think that's important to have.
It's sometimes you just need a break from life too. I mean, with like even just circling back to the whole social media thing, you wake up and I mean, there's stress instantly. If you get on social media, you'll see something that you probably don't like so much, or something that makes you feel some type of way that is just like, wow, okay, I wish I didn't see that. But you need you need to find, like Cole was saying, you need to find a place to collect your thoughts, but it's only your thoughts. It's not something you're reading on your phone that's like making you think a certain way. It's literally letting your mind just explore itself, kind of just one thing that was helping me when I was getting super stressed out was binaural beats and meditation. Um and pretty much all I would do is like I would just play a binaural beat from YouTube in my ears, and I would just lay down like I'm kind of taking a nap, but like my brain would still be awake. And it would just you just kind of let your mind wander, and you'll be surprised how creative you can get when you start doing that.
100%. And like, it's basically, that's why I think it's like, you brought up the social media again. That's why I think it's important, like not to look at your phone. It's hard to habit to break because we get into
Mm-hmm.
that habit. It is a very hard, like I'll be honest, like when I first couple days, especially when you're waking up, you're not really thinking much. You're just like, I grab my phone, I look at it, but then like I caught myself a couple times and I'm like, wait, no. And I put it down and I'd go downstairs and I'd at least like, make my coffee, jump in the shower or whatever, do that real quick, and then I do that. But it's like when you do that, you almost feel like relieved in a way when you
Mm-hmm.
don't, when the first thing you do isn't to look at your phone, because you might get on there and your freaking girlfriend texted you because you guys were having an argument the night before, and boom, instantly you're pissed off already to start your day. I think we should start every single day in a good mood. We should end every single day in a good mood. It's not easy to do. Not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying I 100% do it all the time, but like I think we should like, at the end of the day, or no matter where you're at. That's why, people always talk about like some of the best relationship they give is like, don't go to bed mad at each other. Because like
Mm-hmm.
if you go to bed mad at each other, you're gonna wake up mad at each other.
Yeah,
If
for
you go
sure.
to bed, hey, we're having a fight, or hey, I'm having a bad day, but guess what? I'm gonna set that day aside. Tomorrow's a new day. We may have to pick this back up or whatever, the argument or whatever, or if you're having a bad day, you can just be like, you know what? I'm having a bad day. This day's over. Nothing I can do to change it now. Might as well have a good day tomorrow, or like finish this day in a good mood. Like I think it's important to go to bed happy and like, set the bad things behind, because we never know if it's going to be a bad or good thing, but set it behind and just move on from it. You might have to
100%.
revisit it, but like when you go to bed, you should go to bed happy.
Right. And just building off your point of like not looking at your phone as soon as you wake up. That was actually one of my goals for this new year, is because I mean usually like I would wake up, I'd hear my alarm, I'd grab my phone, and then you do the typical lay in bed for 10 minutes just scrolling through things. And I mean now like what I'm trying to do is just wake up, my alarm goes off, I can like lay in bed for the 10 minutes if I want to, but I can't touch my phone for that 10 minutes. I can collect my thoughts, figure out my plan for the day, so on and so forth. But I'm trying to make it a point to myself to like get my own little morning routine down that doesn't involve social media, Snapchat, stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, the only person who has you 100% of the time is yourself. And you just have to make sure yourself or you as yourself is 100% good all the time as well.
I 100% agree with everything, but we're out of questions. That's a wrap. That was a good one. I really like that one. Did you guys like that one? I don't know why I'm asking that. Like people can answer. But hey, if you guys liked it, then you have to subscribe. You have to rate. You have to review. And if you liked it, send me a message or send your question over to roughneckspodcast@gmail.com. But that's a wrap on the 70th episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. Thanks, Dante, for coming on, being a guest.
Cole, I appreciate you for having me, man. I'm so glad I finally got to make it on here, and I hope this isn't the last time I'm on here.
Hey, we'll let the fans decide. How about that? If you guys like Dante, go over to YouTube. First off, subscribe. I'm trying to build those YouTube subscribers. But go over to YouTube, comment on this episode, and say more Dante. We'll bring Dante back on for Q&A Fridays. If you guys like Q&A Fridays, start sending in your questions, and we'll start. I might make this like an every, right now I'm doing it every 10 episodes, but it could turn into an every 2-week thing, every week thing, whatever. But if you guys like it, let me know. But you guys know the deal. Life is hard. It's going to knock us down just like a bull does to a bull rider. Don't let the bull of life walk all over you. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Roughnecks, out. Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. If you liked today's episode, then be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with a friend if you got some value from it. Head over to social media and follow the Roughnecks Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and subscribe to that YouTube channel. Don't forget to get you some of that merch by heading over to roughneckspodcast.com and subscribe to the newsletter while you're there. See y'all next week. Roughnecks, out.